Continuing our series on brain retraining today, Jason McTiernan and I are going to do a deep dive on adopting a thriving mindset. And this sounds like one of those nice to have kind of things, but your mindset is a really important part of the brain retraining process. Our mindset influences every area of our lives, what we believe we can do, but also what we focus on, what we tell ourselves, our happiness, and even our healing. So in this interview, we are going to dive into useful and practical information about how you can improve your mindset and share some recommended resources and other helpful things to help keep you on track. Jason himself recovered from an 11-year journey with moderate to severe CFS and has now been fully recovered for 8 years and is doing amazing work helping others to recover as well. And incidentally, Jason's been on the channel before, and 2 of Jason's previous videos on this channel are in the top 15 videos on my channel of all time. So always great information shared, always really helpful. So let's dive right in. Jason, so great to have you back. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me again. It's such a pleasure to share this inspiration with people. So let's get stuck in.
Yeah, so I know you've told your story on this channel a few times, but people might have forgotten or maybe have not seen those interviews. So can you just give us a brief recap of what your own journey with this has been like?
Yeah, my goodness, it was 11 years of chronic fatigue syndrome, so it was moderate to severe, and so I had absolute so many symptoms. It was like 30 or 40 symptoms at one point. It was absolutely incredible, but I basically had crushing fatigue. That was the main symptom. So brain fog as well. So I remember going into the next room looking for scissors and not knowing what I went into the next room for. That was happening all the time. I had poor short-term memory as well, and I also had POTS. So if I stood up too quickly, I could faint. And I remember getting blackouts and everything as well. I also had very poor temperature regulation. So in the wintertime in Ireland, I was like wrapping up in like 4 or 5 layers, and I basically was trying to stay warm, but my hands and feet were still completely freezing no matter what I did. I also had post-exertional malaise. So if I did even just like sometimes a 5 or a 10-minute walk, then I felt super tired, and also my muscles were incredibly sore. I remember like in the evening time or at night time, trying to sleep, but the pain of the muscles was so sore that I couldn't sleep as well. So digestion as well. So I had digestive issues. I couldn't have gluten or dairy or anything artificial, colors or flavorings or anything. So my digestive system was reacting to all kinds of things. Even if I had just sometimes a little supplement or something, I had like so many symptoms after it. It was unbelievable. But I also had multiple chemical sensitivities. So I remember going into a shopping center one day, and I remember that my face was all red and it was like itchy, and my eyes were itchy as well. I didn't know what was happening at the time, but it was actually just a perfume that was being sprayed in the store. So my immune system was super underactive as well. So it was very weak. So I was getting all kinds of colds and viruses and everything before I got ill. And then when I was ill, it was basically 2 or 3 weeks of having a cold, and then I'd have another cold straight after. So my immune system was like overactive with multiple chemical sensitivity and things like that, and then underactive with colds and viruses. I also had insomnia. So a common pattern for me was either not sleeping throughout the night at all, or waking up at 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning and then struggling to get back to sleep. So I was worse in my morning times when I woke up, and then I had like just a little bit of energy in the evening time. So it was kind of like a night owl as well. And it was absolutely crushing. It was like if I overdid it, I could be in bed for about a month at a time. And sometimes overdoing it was just doing so little activity. So I tried absolutely everything for the 11 years. I was very active in my recovery. I tried so many things, strange things, all kinds of things. I of course start with medical things, but they didn't really have any answers for me. So I tried all kinds of supplements and diets, and I was meditating and doing yoga and all kinds of things, and becoming much more open to things over time. One of the things I tried was graded exercise. So I was walking for less than 2 minutes a day, and I started adding like 2 or 3 seconds every day. And I got myself a treadmill so that I could walk even when it was wet in Ireland. I could still consistently do that every day. And basically I progressed to walking about 30 to 40 minutes a day. But then I had a big crash because I basically hadn't dealt with the things that led to the illness in the first place. So it was so tough going through that, but I was still trying. But after 11 years of going through all of that, like noticing little bits of progress and then crashing for basically for the 11 years, I was totally fed up. I basically was willing to do whatever it took to heal. I reached rock bottom. So I basically decided, okay, all the things that I had been doing up to that point clearly weren't working. So I stopped doing those things and I was just researching what other people had done for 2 weeks, a solid 2 weeks of investigation, looking at all kinds of recovery stories. And I found so many people who would use brain training to heal. It seemed like about 80 or maybe even 90% of the recovery stories that I found were people who had used some kind of form of brain training to heal. So I found that, and initially when I heard about brain training in the past, I heard about it 8 years before that, but I was too skeptical about it. I thought people were trying to tell me that like all the symptoms were in my head or something, or the illness was in my head, and I was very resistant to that because I knew that all the symptoms were totally real. And so, it took me a long time to warm up to the idea of brain training, and to learn about what it actually is. It's about, using your thoughts, your emotions, and your beliefs to help your body to naturally heal. So when I seen all of those recovery stories, I actually went for brain training, gave it my all, and I was fully better within only about 2 months. So I went over to Portugal. So basically, it was 2 weeks after starting the brain training. I was already climbing some smaller mountains. And then within 2 months, I was fully better. So I went over to Portugal after 6 weeks. It was my first holiday in 11 years, and I basically was hiking for up to 8 or 9 hours a day. I remember exploring the whole southern coast of Portugal. I explored over 30 beaches. It was so much fun. It was early in the year, but it was still like beyond the temperature, the max temperature in Ireland, already in summertime. It was, yeah, I remember like jogging along the beach in the evening time, kayaking through the caves as well. And it's just enjoying complete full wellness. Finally, I knew that it was better. It actually took me a little bit of time to realize that, though. I think my body was fully better before my mind realized. And then it was like maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, I realized, okay, I'm fully better if I'm able to do all these activities and feel great afterwards. So a thriving mindset was a huge part of my healing. It was super important. And, now what I do is I help people in the same way, with my program, all around the world to get better as well.
Yeah, you were just telling me before we started this interview, it's so incredible that you had 11 horrific years with this and then were able to come out of it so quickly. And you said you're just working with a woman who has been unwell for 33 years and now
Mhm.
within about 2 months is now almost fully back. It's just,
Yes, Irene, a lovely lady from the UK. She's doing so incredibly well. And my goodness, after 33 years. So it just proves that, there's always hope for people. And it doesn't matter how long someone has been ill, they can still recover in a pretty short amount of time. I mean, it's not a race to recovery. I would have been totally happy if I fully got better in like 6 months or something. But I actually got fully better in 2 months. So it is totally eye-opening what can happen.
something like a thriving mindset sounds like a nice to have, but not something you should put a lot of focus into when you're trying to recover from something so serious. But it's actually a really important part of brain training. So what what is it and how can it help?
Yeah. So basically, a thriving mindset, to boil it down to the real essence of it, is the belief that we can improve, grow, and adapt to change. So the success is built over time. And so it's rather than thinking that people are born a genius at something, it's thinking that success is built over time.
All right. So what would the opposite of a thriving mindset be?
So it would be a fixed mindset. So a fixed mindset is where someone believes that people are born with certain abilities. So for example, if a kid is taking an exam, if they do good, if they achieve like a good result or a bad result, a fixed mindset way of thinking about it is that that one exam determines the rest of their entire future. And that radical change will be difficult or impossible regardless of how much effort that they're putting in, which is totally untrue. The father of evolutionary theory, Charles Darwin, famously stated, "It is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change." We're the most highly adaptive species on the planet. We can improve pretty much anything.
I love this. I'm just thinking about because so much of what we do in recovery stays with us once we're healthy and we still have challenges and rough times. And I'm going to pull out this phrase and remind myself I have a thriving mindset. It was a rough week, it was a rough month, but this does not determine my fate. And I have the power to make things better. I think this is really powerful.
Hell yeah. Awesome.
So, what are some important aspects of this thriving mindset?
Okay, so there are many aspects to a thriving mindset, but here are five of them. So the first area is focus. So what we focus on, we tend to experience more of. An uncontrolled mind will focus on fear, stress, and worry, trying to avoid danger, basically. So our unconscious mind is designed to help us to stay alive, but not necessarily designed to help us to thrive or to be super healthy or happy. So an example of this is on my 19th birthday, I went to a racing school. It was so much fun in Ireland. And the driving instructor was basically teaching us how to drive really well. And I started to gain more and more confidence. I was following the racing line and learning how to do it properly. And with every lap, I was getting faster and faster, and the engine was like super loud screaming. And one of the corners on the track was like super fast. It was a little bit scary. I had taken the corner too fast one time, and the car started to slide. So unconsciously, my brain, what did it do? It focused straight away on the barrier on the outside of the corner, exactly where I shouldn't have been focusing. And basically, the driving instructor shouted at me, "Look where you want to go." So he pushed my helmet. He literally pushed my helmet over towards basically where we wanted the car to go. So then I straightened the wheel, and then we were back on track straight away. So this actually happened 3 more times before I learned my lesson, and then finally I got it. Your focus determines your future. Where I looked, the car followed. Where our mind goes, our body follows as well. So we must focus on what we want: health, happiness, freedom, and wellness. Asking empowering questions is actually one of the fastest and easiest ways to redirect our mind. So you can ask yourself questions like, what am I grateful for right now? Instead of focusing on symptoms or the illness or the frustration of things, focusing on what are you grateful for right now? Also, what if I could get fully better as well? So that was a question that I was asking myself when I was seeing these recovery stories. What am I looking forward to when I am better? What if my healing could be easy and fun? What if it didn't have to be difficult? So the second area of a thriving mindset is language. So the words we choose have power. We're going to look at disempowering versus empowering language. So for the 11 years when I was ill, I would have said, I have CFS. And that would have been totally true for the 11 years. But it was also disempowering. I could have changed that to, I am healing CFS. That felt much more empowering rather than saying I have CFS. Another thing would be, I always wake up feeling terrible. And that was true for me for pretty much the whole 11 years. So it was also very disempowering if I thought that. So I could have changed that to, even though I woke up feeling bad, I am looking forward to waking up feeling great. So this is called a progressive statement. It's where you acknowledge something, some kind of a challenge, and then you speak more about what it is that you want instead. So you're 80% focusing on the solution, the thing that you want. So another example would be, the traffic ruined my mood. So you could change that to, I enjoyed sitting with my partner with the window down the whole way home, having fun. So you're basically taking a difficult situation and turning it into something that's actually enjoyable. So we always have choice to choose, what are we thinking, what are we focusing on, and also our emotions as well. So another example would be, my boss gave me feedback and it made me feel so annoyed. So you could change that to, I can learn and grow from the feedback I was given, helping me to develop new skills. So even though the feedback might have been difficult for the person, they're choosing to look at the positives and what they can take from it and learn from it. So the third area of a thriving mindset is identity. So this is super important. In order to heal, I needed to identify myself not as someone who is suffering with CFS, but someone that is healing. So I needed to ask myself the question, who do I want to become? A year from now, where do I want to be emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually? Healing is much more than just about getting better. It's about becoming an even better version of you. This is why I chose I Can Thrive as my website name. When you watch inspiring recovery stories, you have to tell yourself, you know what, if they did it, I can do it as well. So you cannot let fear of success stop you. So basically, I tried so many things and I felt like I had tried everything at one point. But and then I didn't want to get my hopes up. I was thinking I didn't want to try the next thing because I thought, I don't want to get my hopes up because it's probably not going to work. But that was a very limited way to look at things. And I realized that was limiting my growth in my healing. So I decided to think, you know what, if other people did it, what if I can do it as well? So it is really important to work on the belief that you can do this, that your life can get so much better. You can watch our previous interview, so the one that we did about beliefs, and we share a really simple 3-step process that you can use to help to increase your confidence in recovery. It is so important to commit to this new you, your new way of being. Every single day I was showing up and I was working on my thoughts, my beliefs, my emotions, my focus, my language, all these things. and working on improving, creating the changes that shape you into the healthier and happier version of you that you're choosing to become. So you're really making that choice that, you know what, even though things were like this in the past for the 11 years when I was ill, I was choosing to get better. I was choosing to become an even better version of me, where health was just automatic and easy after that. So the fourth area of a thriving mindset is recognizing patterns. So identifying patterns that may have led to the illness in the first place so that you can change them. So, for example, common patterns are being an overachiever. So I was always pushing myself way too hard. I know it's being often talked about, but I really needed to deal with that when I was getting better. It was so important. If I didn't change that pattern, I would have still been ill. So basically, I was always burning the candle at both ends. I would have been the type of person that if I had some kind of project or something that I was doing, I would have pushed myself and skipped my lunch break and all kinds of things. And I never knew how to enjoy relaxation as well. I literally couldn't sit still. I was always thinking I had a never-ending to-do list of things that I was doing. And where did that come from? It probably was something silly like thinking that I had to prove that I was good enough. It was probably something like that, which was silly. So putting so much pressure on yourself rather than being self-compassionate and taking care of yourself. Taking care of yourself is super important, and it's not selfish at all. You need to put your health and your happiness first. So another area is being a perfectionist. So criticizing yourself rather than encouraging yourself every step along the way and celebrating your wins. Well, I noticed this even when I started doing brain training. I realized there were quite a number of things that I needed to work on, and this was one of the things. So I noticed that I was focusing on, I wanted to be basically completely symptom-free straight away. And I also was putting so much pressure on myself about the time frame. I was trying to get fully better in like 3 or 4 weeks or something like that. And I realized that that was totally unrealistic. It was going to take a little bit of time to change the patterns and to get fully better. So I realized that I needed to really encourage myself and focusing on, even if it was like little bits of improvements to begin with, celebrating those little bits of improvement along the way. That felt so much more encouraging and empowering. And then, full recovery felt so much easier the better that it was getting. So yeah, celebrating your wins is super important. Another area was trying to help everyone. So I was basically being an overhelper. So saying yes all of the time, making everyone's needs more important than your own, rather than truly caring for yourself and choosing to put your recovery and your happiness first. So yeah, I felt guilty if I didn't say yes to every single person, all their wants, demands, and needs. And that was a very depleting pattern. So you got to put your recovery first. It's really, really important, especially as you're healing. But on the other side of this, once people are better, then you can do whatever it is that you like. You need to help as many people as you like. So I had really to decide that I was not going to live life in this unkind way anymore and fully commit to this new way of being really kind to myself. So the fifth area of a thriving mindset is feeding your brain. This was super important for me as well. So I needed to give myself the evidence that I could do this. So I watched recovery stories, I was reading books, learning about how the mind and body work together. It's super important. You have to condition yourself to believe that you can do this. Belief is like a seed that you water every day consistently. In time, it grows and blossoms, rewarding you handsomely. In summary, the 5 areas of a thriving mindset that we looked at today are: first one is focus. So what you focus on really matters. Asking yourself high quality questions to redirect your mind is the easiest way to focus on the right things. The second area is language. So using empowering language and progressive statements. So even though I felt like this, I'm looking forward to feeling so much better. That will be a progressive statement. The third area is identity. So choosing to identify yourself as someone who is healing, growing, and improving. Super important. Fourth area is recognizing patterns. So are you being an overachiever, a perfectionist, or are you giving too much? The fifth area is feed your brain. So you got to give yourself that evidence by watching recovery stories, reading books, listening to podcasts. I was doing all kinds of things as I was trying to get better. And also I was basically feeding my own conscious mind. And that's super important in recovery.
That is incredibly helpful. I think that relates to so many things in life. A lot of it was resonating for me, and just really helpful mindset to have, just just generally in life. These are a lot of changes to make, though. It's a lot to take in. Like, are there other resources you can recommend, or how can people continue to learn more about this?
Yeah, so some of the things that would be super important are some books that I recommend. So I was reading You're the Placebo by Joe Dispenza when I was getting better, and that made a tremendous difference. So it gives you the science behind brain training and how it works. And there's so many recovery stories in there as well, people healing all kinds of things. And actually, Joe himself, what happened to him is that he was cycling, he had a cycling accident back in 1986. And basically, what happened was, unfortunately, a car hit him when he was on a bicycle, and he basically damaged his spine. So there was six vertebrae in his spine that were severely damaged, and he was getting all kinds of expert opinions from doctors. They were telling him basically that he needed very invasive surgery, that he was going to get a stainless steel rod each side of his spine, and basically that there was risk of complication with the surgery as well, that he could potentially be paralyzed. So he looked at that information and he thought, you know what, it was a radical thought. It would be a radical thought now, let alone back in 1986, but he decided that he was going to heal it using the power of his mind, which is totally incredible. But basically, he was laying down on his front every day and he was visualizing his back completely healing. So he would start visualizing his vertebrae one by one completely healing. And he said initially when he did that, he got some negative thoughts coming in about, maybe not being able to walk in the near future or something. And then what he'd do is he'd interrupt that thought pattern and he'd come right back to the visualization again, imagining his spine healing. And he said after a few weeks, it started to become really easy for him. It was getting much more and more easy for him to imagine it, to visualize it. And he was working on that every single day. And actually, within 3 months, so just 90 days later, he was actually fully better and back to full-time work. Totally incredible. Like absolutely incredible. I love that book. That is like my Bible, to be honest. I love that book so much. Another book that's really awesome is The Brain That Changes Itself by Norman Doidge. So this is a really eye-opener in terms of neuroplasticity. So it used to be thought that our brains were fixed from say 18 to 20 years old, and then we couldn't adapt to things in a huge way after that. That if someone learned new languages or something, it would be difficult for them or things like that. But basically what we know now is from neuroplasticity, from the science behind it, is that we can actually adapt and grow and change all kinds of things, even right up until the day that we die. So neuroplasticity is something that is incredibly powerful. And that's how I did the brain training for just 2 months and got fully better. And I never had to use brain training ever since. I don't have to maintain my health or something with brain training, which is awesome. But that's an excellent book. It's really cool. Another book that I really recommend highly is Mindset by Carol Dweck. So it is an excellent book. It really goes into super empowering information about adopting a growth mindset, which is very much in line with what we're talking about today. So basically, it's looking at things in terms of thinking, instead of thinking that things cannot change or things are fixed, looking at things in terms of how can you grow and improve and adapt and basically get better at something. So that's a really good book as well. And you can also watch my full recovery story. I think it's been about maybe 3 years ago since we recorded that. So yeah, people could watch that as well to get inspired.
Amazing. Yeah, I've read two of those three books, not the last one though, so I'm definitely putting it on my reading list because that sounds like a really
Awesome.
good one. And now you're doing all this really great stuff. I get so much great feedback about the work that you do with people, Jason. People reach out to
Awesome.
me and they tell me how kind you are and how generous you are with your time and just how truly invested you are in people and in just their health and their happiness. So, can you just tell us a little bit about what it is that you do and how people could get in touch with you if they wanted to learn more?
Yes, so thank you very much. So yeah, it's something that's very close to my heart. My goodness, I was ill for 11 years, and I decided when I was getting better, I decided, you know what, whatever I did to get fully better, I was going to help other people to get better as well, because it didn't take me 11 years to heal. It only took me actually 2 months to get better, but it was 11 years of searching. So basically, I created a full online program to teach people exactly what I did when I was getting better. And basically, it's a full online video series. It's very focused and concise because I think, brain training is something that it can be a little bit complicated. There's a lot of moving parts and things with it, but I chose to really specialize it and adapt it to suit people who are specifically overcoming chronic fatigue and long COVID and fibro. And I've made it very practical and easy to implement because I think for me, I had brain fog and all kinds of issues and things when I was getting better and very limited energy too. So I needed something that was going to be much more focused and easier to implement. So that's what I deliver to people. I also deliver coaching calls one-to-one with me as well, and tons of support and access to me basically as people are getting better. But if people want to find out more, basically, they can go to my website. It's called icanthrive.com, and they can watch a free webinar that I have there. And I also have a bunch of recovery stories, people that have helped to get fully better all around the world as well.
Amazing. And that, of course, will all be linked in the video description so people watching can find everything they need, including the list of those books and resources that you recommended, so that people can check them out. Jason, you are amazing. Thank you so much for doing this today.
Thank you so much, Raelan. My goodness, you're spreading so much inspiration all around the world. Over 150 interviews at this point. Absolutely incredible. I mean, I cannot commend you more than, what can I say? Absolutely incredible. I think when I was trying to get better, and like you as well in the past, there was probably so few recovery stories, but now actually people can watch those recovery stories. And once I seen 2 or 3 stories, I realized, you know what if I can do it as well? So thank you so much.
Right back at you. And thank you to all of you who are watching. You are all so incredible, the way you support one another, and the way you send love to me and people like Jason, and are just have so much kindness and compassion despite everything that you're going through. So thank you to you. Whatever you're facing, keep going, keep at it, don't give up. You have totally got this. I'm looking forward to your comments, and I thank you for watching. I hope you got something out of this. I know I got a lot out of it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you in one of these next videos that I'll pop up here for you.